Good afternoon. Come on, guys. Good afternoon. Yeah. Very happy to be here with my good friend Nitesh Ambasta. And we are going to be talking about modernizing wealth management using cloud and AI. Now, wealth management is a very interesting space within financial services, highly profitable, but from a technology perspective, I think it's fair to say has been a bit of a laggard. And that's, I think, an opportunity because with all the changes happening with cloud and now AI, there is a real opportunity to leapfrog. And what better, who better to talk about it than Nitesh? Nitesh is an industry leader, senior leader at LPL Financial, and I know that this is something he's very passionate about. So Nitesh, we'll do it in three parts.
Okay.
So see, it's about strategy to execution. It's about impact. So we'll cover the spectrum. We'll start with maybe laying out what is the opportunity here. Yeah, we'll start with that. We'll then get to the but part of it. What are some of the challenges, and then we'll get to solutions. All in the next 15 minutes.
Awesome.
Okay.
Yeah,
so without further ado, let's start with the opportunity. The hero of the story for wealth managers are advisors. Yeah. And everybody is trying to make the experience better for advisors. There has been this promise about advisor personalization, not fully delivered. But with AI, how do you see this playing out? How could AI transform the experience and the proposition for advisors?
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for that question. I think all of us are trying to figure that one out. Personalization is very easy if you have only one client. And if they don't change their mind ever, then it's super easy. But the hard part with personalization has been that it's an ecosystem, it's a system. It's not a feature or a product, right? It's a system, and systems are messy. And the reason systems are messy is because clients are messy. And not in a humorous way,
and
but
Nitesh has a client of mine.
Yes, so you know that from experience. I made everybody wait while I was running through the expo. So yeah, clients are messy, they change their mind, they have their preferences changing and so on. And so personalization has been a challenge, and it continues to be a challenge. The part about personalization has always been that, let's say you are an advisor and all these are your clients. If you try to personalize it for everyone, let's say you do it, everyone will have unique demands of you. And that is hard for an advisor to keep up with. And so where AI comes in is it takes the heavy lifting from advisors' plate. Today, I think advisors spend 60 to 70% of their time preparing for meetings, collecting documents, and a lot of stuff that they are not spending time with clients. And so that 60, 70% is your attack space with AI. If you can get to that, and then advisors can focus their time with customers and they can use their relationships better, that's the holy grail. And so we'll see how far we can get to that, but I think AI has all those promises. With agentic AI, we can automate a lot of that work that advisors are doing manually today, or they have to spend their time doing.
So that's very exciting that AI can do a lot of the heavy lifting, behind personalization. Now, let's get to the bigger picture. That what does that imply from a business model perspective, and maybe even putting the LPL hat on, that where you play in the value chain, and everybody's trying to in wealth management, trying to be this financial kind of supermarket. So how could AI be a bit of a disruptor and maybe help you leapfrog? Is that a possibility?
Yeah, definitely for LPL, it's a possibility. Like we were not advanced in a lot of products and feature capabilities like wirehouses. And LPL having 30,000 advisors affecting the financial well-being of about 8 million clients can definitely be that marketplace ecosystem. And you mentioned the word leapfrog. We do have that opportunity. We don't have to go through traditional models of building a banking lending product or traditional ways of creating sec lending desk. You can go straight to agentic and AI-based models. You can skip a generation as LPL, go straight to those opportunities that let's say existing players will take a long time to change their model. We don't have anything, so we can go straight to the target segment there. So that's an opportunity segment for opportunity space for us. How does that translate is, we have our own margin expansion targets, and you and me were talking about like boards are excited about it, all the management teams is excited about it. So the trick is to really figure out those use cases. You can't stop the hype, right? If you try to fight the hype curve, you will lose. So you have to pick and choose those areas where you can actually make a difference. AI clearly is very good at natural language, text, all of that use cases. And so you would want to deploy it there first and get some value, and then it becomes a flywheel. And so that's kind of the direction of travel we are after with AI at LPL. We definitely believe that we can leapfrog a generation and close the gap with wirehouses in terms of capabilities and features much faster.
No, that's very exciting. And you talked about customer experience, you talked about business model, and that eventually implies revenue and growth. Let's talk about the third big business KPI, which is cost to serve.
Yeah.
And you did mention margin, earlier, that cost to serve has also been a bit sticky in this industry. So how do you see AI really making a difference to the cost to serve?
No, that's actually an opportunity area where we can attack first. And cost to serve has been on our radar for a while, and we have tried to make incremental progress in that space. But what is now possible is you can look at those end-to-end workflow steps in the cost to serve, like whether it is account opening workflows or commission processing workflows or simple money movement, how fast you can do those things. Today, there are a lot of exception cases or even supervision use cases. There are so many human beings involved in an account opening, account transfer kind of use cases. And those are ripe areas where you can say, okay, we can look at this as a completely inside-out approach instead of incrementally making those workflows better, right? You don't have to do the typical workflow systems like our favorite workflow products from the past.
Right.
And say, hey, let's look at this completely differently. And until I saw a demo of this live, I couldn't believe where an advisor or end user is trying to chat to create an account opening or KYC, AML kind of use case. And on the side, you can see what the agents are doing. And that experience is fully personalized to that advisor. So each advisor office can do this differently, and they have a very personalized experience on how they open accounts, how they deal with clients, and how they lift that margin up for them. And that results into us having a significant boost in our margin targets. And so that's the first area in 2026 we are going to go after, which is starting with the operational transformation area, and then learn from that and go after other business lines.
And it's fascinating that, as you're talking about operations, that this is not just about cost, but this is also about personalization and improving the customer experience. So fascinating set of possibilities. Almost feels like being a child in a toy shop. There is so much you can do,
Yep.
But there is also a reality check that I think it's fair to say, Nitish, and I know that you're very aware of it, that there is a chasm between the promise and the reality.
Yeah.
So what are some of the challenges that you and your teams are seeing in terms of implementing AI and cloud and realizing this vision?
Yeah, like there are a couple of stats I'll give you. One is the number of AI use cases truly in production, according to McKinsey survey, was about 6-7%. So we should be aware of that. The second stat is getting to a 60 to 70% accurate model and result is very fast. But from there, trying to get to 80%, 90% is extremely hard. And so knowing that those things are hard, you solve for, to answer your question, the difficult problems first, which is something my team keeps reminding me. I always say, solve for the difficult problems first. And that is creating a data ecosystem, which is conducive to this, right? So at LPL, we have been on this journey of transforming, with your team's help, Incedo team's help. We have been on this journey, on transforming from a monolith to a data product environment where you can have a modern fabric, and it's event-driven, where you can now connect data that we have on platform versus off-platform data, and now you can do those use cases faster. So that is a hard yard, fixing the data ecosystem, getting it ready. But that's in itself is not enough. in a financial services firm, you have to think about security. You need to think about trust in the ecosystem, because our business is all about trust. Our clients trust our advisors, and that's how they are in business. So we have to be extremely prepared for trust and security. Now we all know that this whole technology landscape is very new, 2.5 years old, 3 years old. And so the maturity of that is not there yet. So you want to start in an area where you feel strong, comfortable with, and not like a most important segment of your business you put AI through. So I would say those two. And the third one, which is obvious to all the people here, is about talent, right? You have to do a talent transformation. It's not just, like I will take an example of my own team. I see leaders who are actually embracing AI and they are doing it themselves. And then there are leaders who are telling their teams to do it, but they are not themselves doing it. And when I self-reflect, I was one of those second type of leaders. So I've just enrolled in a course myself, so I can do it myself. But talent transformation is very key.
And let's double click on a couple of these. There are 3 or 4 important issues that you have raised, Nitesh. Let's talk about data.
Yeah.
Because you also talked about choosing the right sequence. And data is very tricky because data can be like everything and very hard to kind of work through. And in your case, you've had the added complexity or challenge that you have been kind of doing a spate of M&As, at least one every year.
Yeah.
And what I found very interesting is that you have used that has been a challenge from a data perspective, but you have used that as an opportunity to actually upgrade your kind of data foundation. So talk us through that a bit, that how have you approached this whole data journey, and especially with this, the whole focus on inorganic growth?
Yeah, no, I think that has helped us a lot, because many places when firms try to upgrade their data ecosystem, the challenge is your main business runs on legacy, and now you want to build something or transform to something new, but how do you motivate or change that much of current ecosystem, that applications, advisor workstation, all of that to go to the new platform. So we use M&A as an opportunity. Think of it as a beachhead approach. So when we were integrating with our largest client till date, LPL Financial, we introduced a new broker-dealer concept, introducing broker-dealer. And that didn't exist at LPL. So we got that as an opportunity to put that data flow, all the ecosystem around Prudential integration onto Data Foundation, which is the new AWS-based, cloud-based, modernized platform that we are building. And then as we did the next M&A, which is, we acquired Atria Wealth, we put all the TAMP flows, which are new to LPL. What we used to do was very small, tiny footprint, whereas Atria got us an opportunity where it was all TAMPs. And so we took all that flow and put that on Data Foundation. But we didn't, so we continued that journey in 2026, where we have announced the acquisition of Commonwealth Financial. And Commonwealth, we are going to do the big piece now, where all of our custody data will be moving on to Data Foundation. So this is the real big milestone. So we've used those opportunities to transform our journey. It does come with the complexity of keeping the two sets of ecosystem in sync. That's where your teams come in and help us from Incedo. So thanks for your partnership there. But it's complex. That's the hard yard you need to do before we could be ready for the AI journey. But we are very glad that we did all that work over the last 2-3 years, so we are ready for the next phase.
I want to go back to the point you made about sequence.
Yeah.
I think that's a very important thing, that how do you skin the cat? So share some tips with us, that how do you choose the right things to do? What may seem like the biggest may not be what you focus on. I know that that's something you think a lot about.
Yeah.
So give us some tips around that.
I think, if I have to give one tip, it is really the sequencing. It's not so much about can you come up with the best architecture, right? Or what's the best architecture for agentic AI, and what technology tool products we should buy. That's not going to get you there. It's really doing things in the right sequence. And the fundamental part, or the most important thing for us from a sequencing perspective that we've learned, is the journey to Data Foundation and journey to cloud. Without those ingredients, you cannot even start. And so since we have done, or we are on our journey to get those two things done, Now comes the, how do you democratize access to data and AI tools to a broader ecosystem? So right now, while we are experimenting with use cases, the thing that we are trying to solve for is how our business lines get engaged, how the product teams get engaged, how is it democratized for everyone to start working with AI at a pace. Otherwise, if all of them wait for technology and product to give them tools, then we will be behind the game. So that's the next one, which is learning journey for the organization and building that momentum, which is what we are up. And the third thing, which I said, is the security and the trust in the solution we build. Those three things in the sequence, and then you can go after what is the best technology out there and whom should we partner with.
I have an eye on the clock here. I'll come to my last question, which is about talent. In the AI age, paradoxically, the human aspect becomes more important. So finally, people, talent.
Yeah.
What are your top three kind of mantras, or what is the different that you're expecting from your teams? I know a lot of your teammates are sitting here, so very important for them.
Yeah, I think anecdotally what I heard is we are the last generation who are managing only human beings. After this, our next generations will be managing human beings and AI agents. I don't know if it will be true, but that's the promised land. I think it's not something magical, is what I would say. But it's something you embrace, right? It's no longer like, okay, can I stay on the sidelines approach? So it's happening. And as I said, I'm taking it on myself to learn. Some of my team members are already experimenting and doing the coding themselves. And it's become so easy that you don't have to be a programmer anymore. So I think it's about everyone trying to do it themselves is the mantra. And the hiring will change in future more towards ML engineering will become the main thing, as opposed to software engineering or Python or what used to be full stack engineer. So the twist will be more towards, like, all our hirings will shift towards ML engineering skill set.
Amazing. I have we are at time. Gautam is looking at me. So Nitesh Ambastha, thank you so much.
Thank you
for,
so much
in 18 minutes we managed to cover the entire value chain of modernizing wealth management with cloud and AI. I appreciate your insights, and thank you to all the audience. Thank you also to AWS to bring us together here. Thank you.
Thank you.